Fitness classes suck. So you want to ditch the DAD-BOD, get truly fit, stay that way, and cure your aches and pains? Well, then you do not want to do fitness classes, but I am going to tell you what you should do instead, so stick around. Now, this is a very polarizing topic, what I'm going to talk about today, and that is group fitness classes and why they suck. Now, I do want to let you know that I'm talking to you from, guys, I have over 25 years plus of experience in this, okay? If you don't know my background, I've been a personal trainer for a long time. Little Obi-Wan. That's my go-to. It seems to be a lot. When you're in it for this long, you can say a long time. I've taught CrossFit around the world. And when I say around the world, I mean, I've taught CrossFit in Toronto, Vancouver, the Philippines, Bangkok, Thailand, China, Hong Kong, a whole bunch of others. I've taught fitness classes in even more countries around the world. Our own Metcon class, for instance. I even do courses that certify people to teach group fitness classes, but we're going to talk about what I talk about in my courses that divide up fitness classes from the proper ones that you should be doing, which is what we're going to get into, which is the addition of one small word into that. Fitness classes, guys, overall suck. And this time of year, I see so many people talking about getting back into the gym in the next couple of weeks. We're on August the 20th today of 2024. And a lot of people are, the old fall back into fitness in September, maybe October, depending if the weather stays nice. And I hear things like F45, Orange Theory, CrossFit, this and that. And whenever I talk about group fitness classes sucking, people get upset because there's people who really love these classes. And we're going to talk about that because we're going to divide up the emotion with the logic. Okay, and that's what we got to do. We got to kind of not focus. Now, I'm not saying the emotions don't matter. It's actually very important. Group fitness can serve a very important point. But I don't want to go too deep down that rabbit hole. But I want to talk about is what you should do instead if you're one of those people who feels like you need a group. I've talked in the past about how you shouldn't need a group, but sometimes being in a group can be kind of fun. Now, here's the thing though. We all know what happened in 2020, right? And a lot of people, their group fitness classes closed down and they just stopped exercising. They stopped going to the gym. The people who were more like solo people, the people who went, with their hat on like me, hat down, earphones in, minding my own business, don't talk to anybody in the gym. Those people found ways to stick with their fitness. They went out, they bought equipment, or they borrowed equipment, or they did whatever they could. They got bands and they did their own workouts. Those people pulled through 2020 a lot better than the group fitness people, which again is a massive reason why. If your accountability is tied into a group, you're in big trouble if that gym or whatever it is ever just closes or they decide to change their business model. So 2020 was a real wake-up call for a lot of people, especially me watching it. I would like to talk about when I would do a class, and there is a class that I do. So for me, I like to do yoga. I enjoy being in a yoga class, but again, I look for classes with not that many people, and we're going to talk about the importance of that. So I'll look for quieter yoga classes, and I'll do some yoga classes because I like to get the instruction, and I do like the vibe when you have different people doing yoga. And perhaps, I'm not saying I would do this, but let's say I don't mind cardio. I quite enjoy cardio, to be honest with you. I don't dislike it that much. But if I really did not like, say, cardio, and I knew that I just can't get into doing sprints and stuff and push myself without some level of accountability and tracking, then I might look at something like an Orange Theory just for cardio once or twice a week. Because in my research, guys, I went to an F45 class, which, by the way, absolutely terrible. Probably the worst of the bunch. I've taught CrossFit, like I said, around the world. And I went to an Orange Theory class, which was arguably better, mostly because it's so much of the focus is on just cardio machines. So it's just harder to mess stuff up. And I do like the way they do a little bit of track. So I would probably do an Orange Theory class if I felt the need for it. But that would just be for cardio. That wouldn't be my main form of training. It would be cardio once or twice a week on my cardio day. So those are the only two that I would really suggest. Maybe Pilates class, something smaller. But overall, guys, fitness classes are pretty terrible. And I'm going to tell you right now, this is what you look for. If you want to join, say, fitness classes, you want to be in a group and you want to get results and results that'll last. Then what we are not going to do is we're not going to look for fitness classes. We are not going to do fitness classes. Instead, we are going to do small group training. And that is what I teach in my courses. That's what I do. Even when I taught CrossFit to where I could change it around. At my last gym that I ran, I was running the class there. We just called it the EOA class. I think that was the name of the gym, EOA, so it was kind of the signature class. And the way I looked at it is I said, okay, we're going to keep classes pretty much under, right around the 8 people mark, maybe 10 max. And I'm going to treat it like personal training, except in a group setting. And that's the first thing you want to do. So I'm going to go through it without going off my notes here, because I could, I can just go off my notes quite easily. I'm going to talk about what makes a good small group training, group fitness experience that you should look for if this is something you feel like you need to do. Number one is, do they do an evaluation with you, like a really thorough evaluation? That means goal setting, also measurements. Actually, we'll get into that in a bit. Let me see. My notes are kind of messy because I guess everything kind of ties into each other. But an evaluation. So are they going to look at your movement? Are they going to look at when you perform certain exercises? So are they going to look at, okay, so let's work on a deadlift today, or show me what a hinge would look like. The hinge movement is a deadlift movement. And we're going to take a look at your back. We're going to talk about your goals. We're going to see where you're at right now. In evaluation, guys, and a goal setting evaluation, to find out what you want to do with your body. Because even in the group fitness classes, everybody's going to have different things they want to work on. People come into a class, they'll say, I want to get stronger. And the next guy says, I want to get thinner. And the next guy says, I want to get bigger. And the next guy says, I want to reduce pain. Those are all different things. So an evaluation is going to help you set up for that. So if you just walk in and they just throw you right into a class, they just give you some little crappy kind of cardio workout to give you a sweat on, and then they say, okay, great, now you can join in the class. That's no good. You need a personalized goal setting strategy session and an evaluation, and for them to sit down and say, okay, this is the kind of stuff that I want you to focus on, that you'll be focusing on during your program with us. And a good program, group fitness program, will have blocks. So it is going to have, say, a hypertrophy block, a strength block, a power block, a cardio block. It is going to make sure that you're hitting, everything you need to hit. So you're going to have some cardio in it. You're going to have your mobility in it, but it's divided up really, really intelligently. Okay. So I guess that could be almost like a 0.2. Is there programming in your coaching, or is it just coming in and just doing workouts for the sake of doing workouts with really no thought? And when it comes down to that, and a lot of people don't know this because they're so ignorant when it comes to what is strength, what is hypertrophy, muscle gain, that when I was at F45, they'd be, this is a F45 like strong class or whatever, and you'd be doing like 30-pound weights, and I'm like, or even Orange Theory. I'm like, this is not strength. Strength is really heavy. This is not hypertrophy. Like everything you're doing is wrong. Okay. Yesterday we were using the 20 pounds. Today we're using the 25s, but it's still high reps. It's just cardio with a little bit heavier weights. Maybe the coaches understand it, but these programs are not set up to do this stuff properly. So when you go into a F45 or Orange Theory, strength class, it's not strength. It's the same thing as you do every day. It's not a power class. They just play around with the timings a little bit, but there's no real programming to it. So you want to make sure that it has actual strength and conditioning programming. So we'll call that number 2. So that's right off the notes. So now number 2 on my notes becomes number 3. And that is, based on your evaluation, the equipment should not be the same. In my classes, now, of course, guys, group fitness can't be entirely personalized, really, where everybody in a group fitness, small group training class, I should say, which is different than, say, small group or semi-private training. We're talking about groups of 6 to 10, maybe even up to 12. But during your evaluation, we are going to discover things, and even just based on age, sometimes I will make suggestions. But the equipment should not be the same. So a lot of my guys, like over 40, instead on deadlift day, I'll have them say doing trap bar deadlifts. Or I go, hey, you know what, John, your shoulder's kind of twitchy on here. I don't think the straight bar bench press is the best idea for you. So you're going to be using dumbbells, or, you've talked about shoulder problems. So let's try out the Swiss bar, which has these kind of like side handles. So you're in a more anatomically correct position. How does that feel? Oh, that feels so much better. Great. Then that's what you're going to be doing when we're doing bench press. So we're all doing bench press together, but John over there is on the Swiss bar. Gary's on the dumbbells. Mark, Brian, and Jack, they're on the straight bar, whatever it is. Some of them, you have different, and if you're not watching this on the video, obviously, obviously on YouTube, but I'm pushing my elbows in and out. And there's some people might be a little bit tighter. Some people might be a little more up. That's all the stuff we find out during the evaluation when we go through your movements and we find out where things fit and work good for you and what kind of equipment you should be using. So the equipment, guys, should not be the same. Like in CrossFit, you do not have different bars. And yes, it technically could get a little more expensive if you're running a group fitness class. But again, if you're running a small group training program and you're maxing out at 12 people, you don't need 12 of everything. You may have, say, you probably have 12 straight bars, just defaulting to have one bar for everybody. Then you'd probably have 3 or 4 trap bars. You'd have a nice selection of dumbbells with some doubles and triples of weights, obviously. Because again, even if everybody's great at straight bar, you do want to even cycle that in and out. We won't talk about the day because that's going way too deep down the rabbit hole in programming. But if you're in pain and you're just doing the same exercises or using the exact same equipment as everybody else and it's hurting you, that is not a good program. So that's number 3. Number 4 is regular goal reviews. So my last gym, and this is what I would do today if I was open another gym today or do anything, and I do this with my clients, one-on-one coaching clients, we do regular goal reviews about every 90 days. And it depends. Could be 60 days, could be 90 days. It really depends on the way the program works. Usually a full cycle of strength, cardio, conditioning, power, all that. It's usually about 12 weeks, probably a little bit closer. So we'll do goal reviews, and we're seeing how close are you getting to your goal. And if you're hitting your goal, well, is it time to move that goal? Because a lot of people realize, hey, I thought I needed to lose 20 pounds to have this 6-pack. It actually turns out I need to lose 30 pounds. That's almost a guarantee. Anybody who thinks they have to lose X amount of weight to have that body is usually wrong by at least 50%. Meaning you think you got to lose 20 pounds, you probably got to lose 30. You think you got to lose 30, you probably got to lose 45. So having regular goal reviews, or let's just say on maybe the more positive side, you hit that goal. Well, now we need to make new goals. Because here's the thing, guys. There's no such thing as hitting a goal and then that's it. When you hit a goal, usually you're so motivated, you realize, hey, there's other goals that I could do. Now, if you, let's say your goal is to reach, I don't know, like over 12% body fat, and you hit it, you got the 6-pack abs going the whole 9 yards. Maybe the next one's a strength goal. Maybe it's a little bit bigger biceps. Maybe it's some calf work. Maybe it's a mobility goal. Maybe it's a cardio goal. You're like, hey, you know what? Now I want to go and run a marathon. Or hey, you know what? Now I want to work on my mobility and stretching because I want to go do like a freaking yoga course in Rishikesh, India. I don't know. Maybe I want to climb Everest. Okay. So what happens a lot of times is you come in there with these kind of, I don't want to say mundane goals, but very regular goals. And by the time you hit that goal or get very close to that goal, you realize, wow, there's so many bigger goals I can aim for. So regular goal reviews, I would say a minimum of 90 days to maybe 60 days is really a great way to go, and your program should be doing that. And besides the programs that I created, for instance, my Metcon program, nobody does this. CrossFit, and they never did it. I don't think Orange, and I haven't been around Orange Theory F45 long enough to do it, but I put good money down that they don't do it as a company. Say that, like I said earlier, when I taught CrossFit, I taught a lot of non-CrossFit movements. If there's such a thing, there isn't. We can talk about that another day, because CrossFit, if you actually understand CrossFit, you understand CrossFit is cross fitness, and things like rotation and bear crawls and all these weird movements that you can't literally measure or measure that easily, as in standardizing the movement based on people's body types and stuff like that, is really important. And CrossFit, the CrossFitters who were like, I'm a CrossFitter, they don't understand the entire concept of CrossFit. They didn't understand it at all. Again, not time for another story. Regular goal reviews, guys, is really important. And that brings me to, I guess it would be number 5 now, which I talked about earlier, and I kind of touched on it a bit earlier, was measurements. You should be getting, because the only way to get goal review is to do measurements. So is it weight loss? Then, okay, let's measure your weight. Is it muscle gain? Then let's measure your circumferences. Let's check your biceps. Let's check your triceps. Check your calves. Let's do before and after pictures, or pictures. I shouldn't say before and after, because there is no after, truly, guys. Let's do progress photos and just keep taking progress photos. Let's measure your mobility. Whatever it is that we decided in your evaluation were your goals, and then during your regular goal reviews, we measure those and we see how we're doing. And sometimes, and I would suggest this, if it's body composition, then I would send clients, and I do to this day, to get a DEXA scan. A lot of you might be wondering, what the heck is a DEXA scan? It's basically this like $30,000 or $40,000 or $50,000 machine. It's very expensive. The gym doesn't own it. You outsource this to a company. But there's all major cities will have one somewhere. And basically it's this flat bed you lie on, and this machine kind of goes over you inch by inch. It takes about 15 minutes, and it gives you, based on the technology we have today, the most in-depth look into your body fat, where you're carrying it, your muscle mass, where your muscle mass is carried. If you say have more or less on one side or the other, so any imbalances. It can see bone mass, which again, guys, so important. I once had a client, 21 or 22 years old. He had the MMA fighter. He had the bone mass of a 65-year-old woman, and we would not have known that if I didn't send him for a DEXA scan. So it's a lot more than just a great body fat, machine. DEXA scans are so important, but we'll do a lot of measurements depending on, the goal of the people have. Now, if it's a mobility goal, then we'll look at the cake. How far can you reach, and how wide can we do our splits and all that sort of stuff, and how long can we put our leg? Can we get it wider and hold it there for longer periods of time? Can we do 90-90s now without our hips turning? If you don't know what that is, that's okay. That's not the point of this. Basically, if I can say, hey, you know what? You can sit down cross-legged on the floor now, or you can say just sit on your knees like a samurai style without pain. That is a great measurement of what we can do to move on from there. So that again comes back to goal reviews. Goal reviews and measurements, they're intertwined. So now, guys, I got a really quick ask. If you like what you're hearing, could you do me a huge favor? Now, I'm not sure if you're listening to this on Apple or Spotify, maybe watching it on my Barbells To Buddhas YouTube channel, but if you could hit me up with either a 5-star review if you're listening, or hitting a quick like on YouTube, and if you have a second, just saying something nice in the comments, anything you could do to really help me grow my show would be awesome. And with that said, let's get back to Barbells To Buddhas. Now, number 6, and this again, guys, nobody does this, and even I was guilty of doing it to a point. I always focus on a little bit, but in my private coaching, I focus on it a lot more. And even in my group coaching now, we do focus on it a lot more than I used to back when I was teaching like physical small group training. And that is tracking metrics outside of the gym. And there's a few metrics that I'll track. Number 1 will be steps, or what I call just physical activity units. So tracking your steps outside the gym, not letting people believe that just what they do in the gym matters more than anything, because it's actually what you do outside the gym that really matters. So I will have clients, and you really, if you're there for body transformation or health metrics, you should be tracking your steps and keeping track of those. Even in your group fitness program, your gym should be helping you keep track of that through apps like Trainerize and stuff. There's different ones out there that can be very helpful. And maybe even some food tracking. Now, I'm not saying they have to be on you all the time for food, but occasionally, let's say when your 90-day review's coming up and they say, hey, you know what? Hey, John, your 90-day review's coming up in 7 days. Can you do me a favor? Can you track your food for the next 3 days, the next 4 days, the next 7 days, whatever it's going to be? And let's take a look at that. Or we do maybe some challenges where it's, hey guys, this is going to be the 2 weeks where we're tracking our food. So in our water, outside gym tracking is going to be really important. So many gyms, even personal trainers, just fitness things, they only care about what happens inside the walls. And if you're going like the average person 3 days a week, maybe you're like a freaking dragon, you want 4 days a week, I don't know, an hour, and you're like, well, that's all I need. That's so not all you need. Non-exercise activity thermogenesis, NEAT, is so important and so undervalued, and yet so underrated in the power. So that would be outside of the gym tracking, really important. And then the final one, number 7, is outside of class. Now, this is not exactly the same as outside of gym. Outside of gym means like literally they're helping you on things when you're not in the building. And this could be an either or an and. This is outside of class coaching and education. Now, you can do this through various means. For instance, do they have workshops and seminars that they hold that are going to help you with things that happen in the class? Are they doing nutritional coaching in a group? Is it like, okay, guys, don't forget that next Thursday, we're having a workshop on the importance of protein, and we're going to talk about how to get more protein into your diet, and you guys can bring in your protein questions and bring in maybe your food logs and where you're struggling. We're going to have some seminars. We're going to have some education, and you can do this on Zoom as well. But I'm a big believer that group training classes should have group education as well, where people can come together and they can learn. It could be on Zoom. It could be live. I would suggest both. I would say do it live, but have the cameras running and make it a Zoom. And that is really important because so many people, they just want to get there. Well, there's two ways. If you're a coach, you're already doing 90-day or 60-day evaluations and, Q&As and stuff. I do believe in having office hours as well, where people can make a time to come in. But you can't be constantly, sitting down with people for an hour all the time, answering all their questions independently. it's too much. So by having these seminars regularly, maybe once a month, maybe once every 3 weeks, depending on where your program's at, and they can recycle, you can say you'll have 12 topics, go around and around and around, because you'll always tweak them. They'll always be new every time you go around. Because as new questions come up, you'll be like, oh, new thoughts come up, or maybe you learn something new and you're like, okay, I'm going to add that to my next seminar. So I'm not like you're saying you got to reinvent the wheel and come up with, an infinite number of seminars. You can just rotate through them, because I can explain protein to people 2, 3, 4 times and they still mess it up, and they come back later. The power of non-exercise activity thermogenesis is neat. I could do a workshop on that every couple of weeks and people would still not do it correctly. So outside education, outside of class coaching, not just saying, hey, between reps, hey man, how many grams of protein should I be getting? Hey, what supplement should I be taking? Creatine? Do a workshop on should you taking creatine. Do a workshop on should you taking citrulline. Do a workshop on, the magic of magnesium, that sort of stuff, right? And answer those questions in a professional and educated way that, as a coach, by the way, you can also record. But that, guys, is what you should be looking for in a real good group fitness class. And that is not what you're getting at Orange Theory. That's not what you're getting at F45. Quite often what you're getting is a bunch of bullshit flop around classes, and then they have Taco Tuesdays, or they have a mariachi band or something cheesy come in that, yeah, sure, creates some community, but I would rather have a good deal of value along with that. So that's a wrap, guys. But remember, why this may be the end of the episode, it can be the start of your No Dad Bod transformation. And what better place to start than by getting a free copy of my No More Dad Bod Roadmap, a men's only quick user guide to ditching your dad bod to get the body you dream for the life you deserve. And to get it, your copy, just visit roralexander.com/no more dad bod, or I believe you can also get the link right in the notes below, whether you're watching this on YouTube or you're listening to this on a podcast. And if that's not right, I will make sure it is right, and I will put it in the notes anyway. So it's probably the easiest way to get it, so you don't have to remember all that. And until next time, guys, remember, I am here to help you do what? Well, I'm here to help you live leaner, stronger, longer, and of course, a hell of a lot better. Talk to you guys again soon. Hey guys, thanks for watching. And if you like this video, make sure you check out this one right here. And when you're at the gym, driving, out on a walk or run, and you want to hear lots more great content put in your ears, make sure to check out my Barbells to Buddhas podcast on your favorite podcast app.